Welcome to this tutorial on Microsoft Power BI. In this tutorial, i-share ko sa inyo kung paano mag-install ng Microsoft Power BI on our devices, how do we import data sources, and how to create basic data visualization in Microsoft Power BI application. For the outline of this tutorial, let me break it down into 5 items. Number 1, we'll have the introduction of Microsoft Power BI application. So pag-uusapan natin ilan sa mga terminologies and ilan sa mga available applications of this product. Number 2, we will go directly to installing Microsoft Power BI Desktop, wherein we will download the file online, the installer, and then we will install the application to our device. Number 3, we will configure options and settings inside the Microsoft Power BI application. Number 4, we will connect and shape the data. And lastly, number 5, we will create basic visualization in our Microsoft Power BI. Alongside with this tutorial, I will also show you the sample data na gagamitin natin for our demo. But before that, let me go with some terminologies. Microsoft Power BI. Power BI is a standalone Microsoft Business Intelligence product which includes both desktop and web-based applications for loading, modeling, and visualizing data. For more information, you can log into powerbi.microsoft.com. Power BI started since late 2015 or early 2016. So medyo bago pa po yung application. For the past few years, nasanay tayo ang gamit natin Microsoft Excel. Every time nagko-consolidate tayo ng data, i-create tayo ng report sa pivot, or mag-automate tayo gamit yung macro. Now, in Microsoft Power BI, we can do the same thing, but the good thing is that everything is fully automated. And seamless yung pag-create ng ating mga reports. All we need to do is to drag and drop, parang pivot table. And hindi ganun kahirap mag-generate ng mga data shaping commands. You don't need to create formulas because there are a command button or what we call the graphical user interface that we can use to edit or modify our datasets. Microsoft Power BI has 3 particular applications. First, meron tayong tinatawag na Microsoft Power BI Desktop. Next, we have what we call Power BI Service, which is the web application. And third, we have the Power BI mobile application. And for the Power BI Desktop, you can download it online, install it on your device. For the Power BI Service, the online app, you need to log in with your user account to be able to access the cloud service. And for the mobile application, you can download it for free. There's a free version of that. If you're an iOS user, you can go to App Store, type Power BI. If you are an Android user, you can go to Google Play Store and download the application. Installing Power BI Desktop. If you want to install the product, you can actually log into powerbi.microsoft.com, click Start for free, and then click Download free version. Hindi naman po required mag-log in pag mag-i-install at mag-download tayo ng product. Actually, this is a free version offered by Microsoft, and you can install it in your device. The only limitation for a free version, we can only create a maximum amount of 10 gigabyte worth of data. So we cannot extend into that. There's a subscription for this product You can check the website, powerbi.microsoft.com, for the pricing and for the data capacity component. So it depends on your subscription on how much data capacity you have. Now, when do we log in? When do we need to use the sign up process? You only need to log in if you need to publish your data online. For example, you're done with your desktop report, you want to upload that in the cloud, you can log in and then publish your data. However, Microsoft Power BI only accept enterprise email. Ibig sabihin, hindi natin pwedeng gamitin yung mga email kagaya ng yahoo.com, hotmail, google.com, or gmail, or outlook.com na domain names. Pwede yung mga company emails or work or school email address or government email address. You need to sign in so that you can access your data on the cloud. And the good thing with that, kahit saang device ka mag-login, pwede mong makita yung report at yung data na ginagawa mo. We need to log in to powerbi.microsoft.com. Click the Start Free button. Scroll down for a bit. You have here the Power BI desktop option. Click the Learn More button. And then select See Download or Language options. Click the Download button. And as you notice, there are two options. Alright, you can either choose Power BI Desktop of 64-bit or Power BI Desktop of 32-bit. So let's use the 64-bit. And as we click next, it will be downloaded and we will install the application. After the download is finished, you can go to your download folder and then select the Power BI desktop application. Double-click this to run the installation. As you double-click, you will notice there's a dialog box. This is a traditional wizard dialog box for the installation of the Power BI app. So let's click the next button. Alright, so the installation will not take more than 10 minutes. Now, all we need to do is to click the next button, accept the license agreement, and select the folder path. You can have this option to check, create a desktop shortcut, and then click install button. Installation is finished, you can actually click the finish button and you can start launching your Power BI application. Then check this for a while, click finish. Now, if you want to start with the application, you can use the shortcut or you can click the start button and look for the application, Microsoft Power BI Desktop. The application dialog box will launch and we'll wait for a while as we go to the Microsoft Power BI main menu. If this is the first time that you will open your Microsoft Power BI application, as you can see, we have here a dialog box. You can actually run with your previous project. You can collaborate and share. And you can look at the following items here. We have what's new, Power BI blog, forums, and tutorials. Again, you are not required to log in or sign in on your account while using the free version. So let me skip this one now. And this is the main interface of your Microsoft Power BI. But before we go through the Power BI interface, let's have an objective. First, let me show you the data set that I would like to import in my Microsoft Power BI application. So I have here a Microsoft Excel file of a supply chain database, and meron siyang multiple columns, right? We have the order date, order ID, sales, customer information, product information. And we have around 8,400 records for this table. This data set is a composition of 4 years worth of data. So nagsimula ito 2009, 10, 11, and 12. Now, what I want to see in my Power BI application, I want to add more details on this database. Second, I want to create a basic report on the total sales of this company for the past 4 years. I may also want to check the total sales per region level and also per product level. All right, so we can import this type of data in Microsoft Power BI, and I'll show you the step-by-step procedure on that. Now, let's begin with the application. If first time mo mag-open ng Power BI application, the first thing that you need to do is to save the file. So ngayon, wala pa tayong file name. So let's click the file button. Click the save as button. And then you can choose desktop and then save. Let me name this file as Microsoft Power BI project. Extension file name for the file is .pbix. Next, let us examine first the interface before we enter our data source. So as you can see in the interface on the left, from the top, we have the ribbons. These are the traditional ribbons that we can see in different Microsoft Office products. If gumagamit na tayo ng Excel, ng Word, ng PowerPoint, maybe we're familiar with this already. On the left side, we have the 3 main icons. First, we have the report view. In the report view, this is where you create your data visualization. On the right side, we have the filters area, the visualizations, and the fields. When you say fields, ito yung columns ng mga database na i-import natin. You can also see the list of table over there. Next, the next icon on the left is the data. When you say data, this is a view of your workbook or data sets. This is similar to an Excel worksheet. And last is the model view. In Microsoft Power BI, it adopts the process of database normalization. Meaning to say, pwede na po tayo mag-blend ng data sources, pwede na tayo mag-create ng mga table relationships. Now, all we need to do is to connect them later on in this model view. But in this tutorial, we will not cover the table connections. We might have it in a separate video. Alright, so ngayon wala pa tayong data. Now, the first step that you need to do is to import a dataset. Kanina, nagpakita ako ng Excel file. So, ang gagawin natin, i-import natin siya dito. Okay, so from here, we have the Home tab. Let's click the Get Data button. And we have here the different options on where you can get your data. So let's click the More tab. And we have actually more than that. If you try to look at your options, so we have traditional Excel data, text CSV, JSON, PDF, SQL, and even non-Microsoft related data sources like MySQL, SAP HANA, SAP HANA. We also have Oracle, Google Analytics, Azure, Salesforce, and many more. Alright. Now, for this example, let me choose the first option, Excel Workbook. Now, the difference between the local file and the databases, if yung file natin nakasave lang naman sa local device, we can simply browse for the location of the file and import that directly to your Power BI. Now, if your dataset is from a database like SQL, you need to log in using your credentials, username and password, before you can access the table of your databases. So let's start with Excel workbook. Click connect button. Sorry. Let me cancel this for a while. So those are the options. Now, prior to the application of importing the datasets and getting data from different data sources, let us set up something here first. First, you have the file button, and I need you to go to options and settings, select options. So bago tayo maglagay ng data, make sure that this is already set up. This is one of my best practices. Number 1, under preview features, make sure na everything is unchecked. Alright? Ang ibig sabihin nito, ito yung mga updates in your Microsoft Power BI application. So it might affect the, of course, the bandwidth issues. It might actually slow down the process of your Power BI as you check any of this. Kasi nag-update siya while you use the app. So make sure that everything is unchecked. You can check this anytime, maybe if you're not using the databases or the Power BI itself. So it's just an update. Now, let me go to the next one. We have the data load button. On the data load button, make sure that you uncheck update or delete relationships and uncheck auto detect new relationships. Okay? So, ano po ibig sabihin nun? Sa Microsoft Power BI, as I mentioned earlier, we can blend data sources. We can create table relationships. Now, pag nakita ni Power BI na yung mga database mo, may pareho silang primary key and foreign key, Power BI might assume the table connections between them. So, mas maganda kayo yung magko-connect nun manually. We don't want Power BI to automate that. Kasi baka may mga tables na hindi naman dapat connected in the first place. Next, the last item is the regional settings. For this tutorial, let me select English United States. Let's click OK button to activate all those settings and save the file again. You can use Ctrl+S for the save shortcut. Now, after doing the settings, we can actually get our first data set. So let's click the Get Data button, Excel workbook. Select the folder where you have the file. I am on the desktop and I have the Microsoft Power BI folder, Supply Chain Database. Let's click Open. If you are connecting to a Excel spreadsheet, one spreadsheet is equivalent to one table in Microsoft Power BI. So you can choose multiple worksheets at the same time. You can import multiple worksheets at the same time. In the meantime, I only have one set of table here that is named database. Let me check this one now. It will be previewed. Now I have two options down below. I can load it or I can transform the data. Pag sinabi nating load, it will be loaded to the data model in the interface that we have right now. Ibig sabihin, pwede mo na siyang gamitin for your data visualization, for the data modeling, or the table relationships. And pwede ka rin mag-create ng mga data analysis expressions. Ito yung mga formulas. However, ang best practice natin dito, bago natin siya dalhin sa data model, it must be processed using the query editor. Because some of our raw data, most of the time, may mga issues to eh. Normally, we need to clean something. We need to remove unnecessary characters. We need to modify the table itself. So how can we do that? Down below, you have the Transform Data button. Let's click on that. Now it will be loaded in the Power Query Editor. This is a different interface. All right. And this is where we can modify our data sets. All right. So I have here the main menu, which is the data model. Now when I click get data, transform data, it leads me to the second monitor, the query editor. This is where we can edit everything and then we can load it again in the data model. Now let us examine first the interface. From the top, we have again the ribbons. And this ribbons is pertaining to the query editor. Let me summarize this. For the home tab, what you can see in the home tab is more on the frequently used controls. Alright, in table transformations. Transform and add column. They have a lot of similarities when it comes to command buttons. As you can see, transform has multiple sections down below. Meron siyang for number, for text, for date. Add column has the same from text, from number, from date. But what's the difference between the two? Just to give you a scenario-based example, when do we use transform? Example, I have a list of sales or revenue column and I need to add, let's say, decimal places to that data. I can click transform. That means it modifies the existing column so that we can add decimal places. Add column, on the other hand, if I need to add, let's say, for example, I have first name and last name column of a customer and I need to create another set of column for the full name of the customer. Something like concatenate, parang Excel, pero it's more of an add column command. Down below, you have the table names. You can import multiple tables at the same time. And by the way, Microsoft Power BI can accept more than 1 million of records. So you can create projects, multiple tables with billions of records. Make sure lang medyo mataas yung RAM natin para mabilis po yung process. On the right side, we have here the interface where you can see your data sets. This is the same data that we can see in Excel earlier. Alright? Even the arrangement of the columns. Next, on the properties, you can change the name of the database. Let's stick with that. You can customize that later on. And lastly, for the applied steps, over here, imagine that everything is recorded. You are in a interface where all the changes or table transformation will be registered. Paano nangyari yon? If I click on the source, look at this. The source means where do you have the file or where do you connected. Kanina, we are connected in a Excel table. Next, on the navigation, Power BI recognized the columns of the Excel file. However, the header name is part of the record and the column name is column 1 up to column 20. Now, we don't want that to happen, but Power BI recognized that. If you look at the next applied step, it promotes the headers. But there's still one problem. Pare-pareho sila ng data type. When you say ABC123, that means text data. Alright? Or alphanumeric value. You can change them individually, but again, Power BI recognized them. As you can see, the last applied step here is the change type. Now, you'll see the difference between the icons on the upper left corner of each column. Ibig sabihin, when you try to connect on a dataset, whether it's Excel, Oracle, database, SQL, etc. Now, when you import them to Power BI recognizes the column headers. Power BI recognizes the data types for each column headers. Now, you can add more details for this table. Let's go to shaping. How do we shape the data? Let me give you some few examples on data shaping. And then right after this, we can proceed to data visualization. Example, let's start with the order date. Let's say, for example, guys, I need to enter a column that displays the given year of the order date. Na-mention ko kanina, that we have 4 years worth of data. What I need is the year only column. In Microsoft Excel, we can do that through date serialization. The formula like equal year can actually dissect all the year column, all the year data in a single column. In Power BI, simply create that kind of method without doing the formula. If you are inside the Power Query editor, everything is graphical user interface. Or you can click that command and apply that automatically. So let's try with the order date. Let me click on the add column tab. Guys, if you need the year column only, may option dito sa date, and then i-click mo yung year, and then select the year. What will happen, Power BI will add a column that only gets the year data of the given order date. So let's move it. You can move this on the leftmost. Just select right click, move to beginning. So I can move it right after the order date. Ano bang significance? Why do we need to do this? Later kasi, pwede kayo mag-create ng mga filters or ng slicer that is pertaining to the year of the data. Next, kailangan ko din ng month name. So with that order date, you have that option of month and you have that option of name of month. Now, Power BI will generate the same thing. It will actually create a month name. We move it on the leftmost. Sorry, not left. Beginning. And let's just move it right after the year. When you say month name, it actually refers on the order date given. So this is 10/13/2010. So we get the year, that's 2010. We get the month name, 10 means October. Okay, so those are a typical way to add more details to your data set. What else? Let us try to go with the other examples. Let me go to the customer name. Another example, this time for text. Let's say I want to create a column that separates the last name and first name of the customer name. So in order for me to do that, this time, I don't need to click the add column. I click the transform tab. And when you say transform tab, it modifies any existing column that you've selected. So hanapin natin yung split column. And we have a lot of options to split the data over here. Let us select by delimiter. And for this one, we have the space. And we have other options here pero hindi ko napapalitan. Okay na ako sa space. Let me click OK. Now, Power BI will create 2 columns out of a single column full name. Now, I can rename the column header over here. This is for the first name. And I can change the column over here. You can double click on the header, by the way, and select or type the word last name. Alright, now one thing that you will notice, every time you do some changes on the database, look at the applied steps. Earlier, nandito lang tayo sa change type. As we go along, as we try to create more details on our datasets, we add more applied steps. Technically, everything is recorded. Alright? You can actually remove them, you can replace them anytime. If you think it's done, okay na yan. You can add more later on. Now, the next thing we need to do here is to click the Home tab. And lastly, select the Close and Apply button. Ang ibig sabihin nun, yung first step na get data, napunta sa query editor. Pagkatapos mo siyang i-modify sa editor, now you can move it in the data model. So para bago mo gamitin dun sa mismong report mo, may mga detalye ka nang naidagdag na kakailanganin mo later on. So let us click the Close and Apply button. Now it will close the editor. It will go back to the data model. This is the data model view. The database will now be loaded. It might take less than a minute. And right after this, anything inside the data model can now be forwarded to our visualization. Okay, so let me save this for a while. Now, one thing that you will observe when you click the close and apply button, first on the report view, under fields, this is the database table, and these are the columns available. Okay, next we have the data set. All right, this is the something like an Excel workbook window where you can see the data view. Okay, and lastly, we have the model tab. Alright, this is where you can create your table relationships. Ibig sabihin, kada pag-import mo ng isang table, may isang block siya dun sa model. Later on, you can connect them to multiple models. Now, before we formally do the data visualization, let me just, again, show you some of my best practices. First and foremost, I try to modify the date format. Okay, because we have a very limited space pagdating sa dashboard. So, ang pwede natin gawin, let us click on the order date. Okay, by default guys, naka-long date format siya. So, ang pwede kong gawin, I can click the order date. We have the column tools on the top and we can select the short date format. Yan. Alright. Tsaka redundant din kasi kung order date, naka-long date, may month name ka na dito, tsaka year. Much better if the tables are separated by category instead na nasa isang long date column lang sila. Next, ganun din po sa ship date. The last column available, gagawin ko siyang short date. So those are the first step. I need to modify. Next, I need to check on the fields. Look at this. There are some columns with sigma icon. When you say sigma icon, it represents calculations. Normally, summation, di ba? In this example, hindi po lahat ng may sigma icon can be recognized as calculated column. For example, we have here order ID. Alright? Product-based margin. We have the year. Alright, so those items, we need to remove the sigma icon. Ibig sabihin, hindi naman sila kailangan i-calculate with basic summation. So for the order ID, this is the distinct ID of each transaction. So in order for you to remove the sigma icon, you can go to column tools, select the summarization, and just click the down summarize. That will do. Alright. Product-based margin, down summarize. And lastly, for the year, down summarize. What will happen if we don't remove it? Power BI will recognize that as a calculated column. Imagine the year column, 2009, 10, 11, 12, will be added as a sum column or summarized column. So, hindi natin kailangan na. The rest of the items with sigma icon, okay lang kasi we calculate the profit with calculations, total sales, unit price, etc. So, no worries with that. Alright? Now, the last step here is for us to create our data visualization. So, puntahan natin yung ating report view. And the good thing with data visualization, everything is drag and drop. Para siyang pivot sa Excel. So, let's start with the view button. Before I create any reports, I always tend to click the view button and make sure that grid lines and snap to grid are checked. Ano po ibig sabihin nun? Yung grid lines, maglalagay siya ng horizontal and vertical line that will guide me to align my objects para hindi mahirap mag-align ng mga objects natin. Next, I have this snap to grid. Yung snap to grid naman, something like a magnet that kapag malapit ka na dun sa border ng line mo, nag-auto fit siya, nag-auto align na rin siya at the same time. Okay, now, mag-create tayo ng basic sales report. Let me name this page as sales report. I want to see the report of sales in different perspective. Okay, first, maybe per region. Next, maybe per product level. And last, maybe per calendar level. Yun yung mga gusto nating makita. Basically, on our dashboard. Right? So, let me begin with some items here by, say for example, let me use a card that will display the total value of the revenue. Para alam natin, may idea tayo. What is the maximum value of the data that we are working with. So when you say card, this is just like a text box that you can add a item, a calculated item. Ipapakita niya yung overview sa'yo. So with that, let me, it has a fields. Isa lang naman yung requirement nito. And let me move the sales column in that area of fields. You can simply drag the sales and move it on the fields. Alright, there you go. So we're talking about a maximum amount of 14.92 million. Ito yung pinaka total sales natin. Now let us break this data into different criterias. Let me begin with the data per region. So with that, for comparison of total sales per region, let me choose clustered bar chart. Right? So, parang Excel lang din siya guys. Hindi siya ganun kahirap gamitin. Clustered bar chart. And as you can see, meron din siya ditong mga fields. Okay, axis, legend, values, etc. Okay, so if I want to see the report based on region, now all I need to do is to drag the region on the axis level over here. And again, let me move the sales in the values area. Right, there you go. So I have this basic report of total sales per region. Right, I think I need to remove this one. This is not necessary. Even the item down below, I don't need the labels. I just want to maximize the spacing. And pwede tayo maglagay ng figure at the end of each bar to maximize or to display the what we call the values breakdown. Let me go to format to do that. Kung gusto mong alisin yung title dun sa X and Y axis, you can actually click on the Y axis, scroll down for a bit, and hanapin mo yung title, switch it off. Ayun. Ganon din sa X axis, hanapin mo yung title dun sa drop down, tapos switch off. Ayan. Alright, now if you want to add data labels at the end of each bar, you can actually select data label and then switch it on. Right, there you go. Okay. Can expand that maybe. However, nagtitipid tayo sa space, we need to add more details dito. Lastly, I want to change the header. So with that, let me go to title. What I want to do here is to change the font color to white and then background color to black and then select center align. Yan. So mas klaro kasi yan pagka nag-report ka. Nababasa po yung details ng header data natin. Now the first information that I've added here is to display the sales by region. It's very important to look at different perspective of my report. All right, what else? Next. Okay. Let us try to add a matrix. When you say matrix, this is a table of your report. I want to add a matrix based on product category. With that, let me click on, this is the matrix button. Bago ka pumili ng bagong chart, make sure you click within the blank area. So select the matrix button and expand this for a bit. I want to add the details of product category in the rows area, and as usual, sales on the values area. Alright. So let me adjust the font size. If you want to adjust the font size of your matrix, you can go to format. You can actually select the style as well. You can let me use the alternating rows for the style. There you go. And go to grid to adjust the text size for this matrix table. Alright. Meron kasing option dito for column and row headers. Kaya lang, if you adjust the text size for that, yung column lang or yung row lang po yung ma-adjust. If you want to adjust the entire, what we call this, matrix, text value or text size, you can go to grid. Alright? Yun yung option natin. Okay? So, if you want to arrange this based on sales, you can actually click the sales column. Right, there you go. So you have an option to look at the highest available sales per product category and up to lowest available sales. If you think product category is like or quite summarized, you can interchange naman. You can always go back to rows. Example, ang gusto mong tignan by subcategory. You can move subcategory on the rows and remove the categories. Ito naman by subcategories. Okay. Siguro subcategories na lang i-try natin. Tignan ko. Liitan ko lang po yung text size para magkasya dun sa table natin. Para mas marami tayong details na ma-present. Yung category kasi masyadong summarized. Tatlo lang siya. Ayan. So we have the next item here for the subcategory. Maybe I can move this on the left side. Subcategory level. Over here. And then the sales by region naman. Over here. For you to create consistencies, yung ating subcategory or yung ating matrix, pwede mo siyang lagyan ng conditional formatting. Okay. Example, if I try to click on the matrix, may option sa baba. Wait lang, huwag lang natin. May option sa baba, conditional format. And actually, pareho lang to ng Excel din. Kung familiar kayo dun sa mga conditional formatting ni Microsoft Excel, it can also be applied here. So let us click the data bars, for example. Ayun. So para may consistency yung design natin. What do we mean by data bars? It adds a bar that defines the highest available sales per subcategory up to the lowest available sales by subcategory. Okay. In the long run, magiging useful din yan sa mga reports natin. Okay. What else? Let me add a, let's say, pie chart or maybe a donut chart. Right. When do we use a donut chart? We use a donut chart if we want to present a percentage value. So simple lang, I want to see the market. I want to see the sales based on the market. So ang pwede kong gawin, meron akong customer segment column. I-move ko siya dun sa legend ng donut chart. And yung sales dun sa values. Okay, arrange lang natin to. Gayahin ko yung header format, alisin ko yung legend, ayusin ko yung kanyang content. To maximize that format area, you can click the format button while selecting the donut chart. First, let me remove the legend. All right. Then let me change the title format, white font, black background color. And what else? Maybe I can add more details dun sa kanyang detail label and choose category and percent total. Ayan, para mas klaro na ano ba yung hinahanap lang natin. Okay? And let me duplicate this report. Usually we copy and paste para hindi natin uulitin from scratch yung settings. Mas maigi nga yun para hindi tayo mahirap magsimula palagi from scratch. Okay? Maliban dun sa customer, sales by customer segment, I also want to look into maybe the sales with, let me check, based on product container. So ang gagawin ko dyan, I will remove the customer segment. Let me substitute the value product container. Ayan. Right. So kaya lang medyo marami atang divisions ang product container, no? Try natin humanap ng ibang item. Check. Let me try shape mode. Ayun. Sige, yung shape mode na lang. Alright, so we have sales by customer segment and we have sales by shape mode. Ibig sabihin, is it through delivery of express air, delivery truck, or regular air? Okay, yun yung available information dito. Okay, so again, we are using pie or donut chart if we want to look into the percentage value of our reports. Okay, and lastly, over here sa baba, I want to add a basic line chart. We use line chart if we are actually dealing with data based on date and time. We try to visualize data over time. So I want to see a summary of total sales per year or maybe per month. So let me add a basic line chart. Let's click on this data down, blank area down below. Click on the line chart. Okay, move it on the right side. And for the details, for the axis, ang gagamitin ko dyan, we have the order date. Over here. Okay, if naglagay ka ng date column dun sa axis or any of the fields, it is by default hierarchy based on the year, quarter, month, and day. So ang kailangan ko lang makita sa report is year and quarter. Alright. And lastly, of course, sales to be moved in the values area. Okay. If you want to see the breakdown of year and quarter in your report, you can actually click this icon, expand all down one level in the hierarchy. And as you can see, you have it here. Alright, this is the sales per quarter, per year. So makikita mo yung fluctuations. I-maximize natin yung area. Let me edit the title format for consistency purposes. So the font color is white. The background color is black. Alright. And let me remove the x-axis. It's not necessary. Obviously, that's for the year data. Alright. So here you go. You have here a basic representation of your data, sales by year and quarter. Now, before we end this tutorial, I want to add more controllers in my report. Ang tawag natin doon yung mga slicers. para kumbaga mas maging detalyado yung pinapakita natin dun sa dashboard natin. I want to add two particular options for the dashboard. Number 1, let me use the product category. And then number 2, let me use a timeline. Okay, so let's start with the product category. And the slicer can be found in this button, visualization, first column, fifth icon. Okay, and for the field, kailangan kong maglagay ng product category. Alright? Normally, yung slicer, filter po ito. Alright? You can actually click on the checkbox and the entire report will now be filtered. Yun yung pinapakita natin dyan. Okay, however, mas maganda kung gagawin natin tong command button. If you want the slicer to be displayed as a command button, you can go to Format. Puntahan mo yung General tab. And then the default orientation kasi is vertical. Gawin mo lang siyang horizontal. Alright? So this is the horizontal option for the product category slicers. Ganon din yan. You can click the furniture, office supplies, or technology. Okay? And lastly, I want to add another slicer. So let me click one more slicer. And this slicer naman is pertaining to data. So with that, let me choose one field only, that's order date. Let me move it on the right side, left side. And that's for the order date naman po. Pagka date ang nilalagay mo sa slicer, yung kanyang detail, para siyang nagiging slider. Ayan. So you can actually move this like for a timeline reports on your visualization. I can try this report. Now I can see the details of this sliced data. Alright, so as I mentioned kanina, from the process of importing the data source, consolidating or shaping the data source, and creating data visualizations for your report, Power BI is a very powerful tool and ang dali niyang gamitin. Alright, let me remove the grid lines and snap to grid to make this more clearer. Alright, and this is my report now. I have the controllers, I have the dashboard. And by the way, one more thing. Take note that all the visuals are considered as slicer. Example, I'm in the sales by region. If I click West, it will show me the West data only. This is Ontario, this is Prairie, Atlantic, Quebec, Yukon, Northwest, and Nunavut. If I want to select all, I need to double click on the last available or on any particular region block in the bar chart. I can do the same thing for the donut chart. Okay, so pwedeng i-click lahat and it can be considered as the slicer. Alright, so imagine you can create your reports and your dashboard in less than 30 minutes maybe, or maybe less than 1 hour. And we can use Power BI in that kind of project, right, or output. Okay, and finally, of course, we need to save the file. All right, if you are logged in with your Power BI account, you can publish this file on the cloud, and you can actually present this to your colleague. All right, so this is the tutorial for Microsoft Power BI, from installation, connecting and shaping data, and creating data visualization. If you want to learn more about Microsoft Power BI, click the subscribe button down below, or you can also add your comment. Right? If you have suggestions, or if you have, want to share your Power BI strategies in creating your reports as well. So it might help. And if you have any questions about this, you can also write that in the comment section. All right. So thank you very much for your time. And I hope you've learned something new on this tutorial.